Hi everybody, it's been a while. I just wanted to get on here and address where I've been and what's been going on in my life. As seen by the title, I was pregnant. For those who didn't know, I don't really know how to start this. I'm just gonna start from the beginning. Josh and I were trying to have a baby, and we were trying for a couple months. It was a long process, honestly. And then eventually I found out I was pregnant, and we were so excited. And oh my god, this is gonna be an emotional video. We were so excited. We went to my ultrasound and everything was great, everything was fine. And then my second ultrasound, we found out it was twins. And at first I was so scared, and I honestly was just in shock. And Josh, his face was like so pale, I thought he was gonna pass out. But once we were out of the shock factor, we were so overwhelmed with joy and so thankful that we would be blessed with 2 babies. Fast forward, because I'm having twins, it's automatically considered a high-risk pregnancy. So I was going 2 hours away to a specialist to check on the babies once a month. Everything was going great. The first trimester, I was so insanely sick. I was losing weight. I was throwing up nonstop, constantly dehydrated. I literally couldn't even get out of bed. It was horrible. I was throwing up all throughout the day. Finally, my nausea went away by my second trimester. February 1st, I went to my specialist appointment, and I got the full anatomy ultrasound done of both of the babies, and we learned that they were sharing a placenta. And for those of you who don't know, you have to really monitor that to make sure that twin A is sharing properly with twin B and vice versa, to make sure that they're both getting the same amount of nutrients. And that's how certain twins are bigger than the others, because maybe one baby's taking over a little bit more. So my specialist contacted my OB here where I live, and let her know that she needs to monitor the fluid in my baby's sacs to make sure that they're equal and that they're sharing. And I'm not gonna name any names because I'm not going to, but my OB here in town did not do that. I was supposed to be getting an ultrasound either every week or every 2 weeks to monitor this fluid, and I was going in for my appointments, and they were just hooking me up to the heart monitors, checking both of the babies' heartbeats, and telling me that they were healthy, and sent me on my way. I'm sitting there thinking everything's perfectly fine because that's what I'm being told. Well, here I am, 24 weeks pregnant, and I start having contractions. And this was my first pregnancy, so I don't know what was going on. I just knew that there was a really sharp pain in my belly, and I woke Josh up and I was like, I need to go to the hospital. I'm telling you right now, something is wrong. I go to the hospital, find out I'm having contractions, and I get 2 shots in my arms to make my contractions stop. I was there all night, and then they sent me home. The next night, I start having contractions again. I go back to the hospital. They give me 2 more shots and some pills, and they're supposed to stop my contractions. They couldn't get my contractions stopped. A couple hours later, finally, they stopped. 2 days later, I'm back in the hospital. Same story goes around, and then they gave me another shot in my butt for steroids for the baby's lungs, just in case I had them preterm. And then they sent me home. I was in the hospital 5 different times for having contractions at 24 weeks, and not one person in the hospital gave me an ultrasound. So I'm sitting there thinking that like obviously not everything's fine because I'm having contractions, but they're telling me that I'm having contractions because I'm little and I have 2 babies inside of me, and my body's thinking I'm at full term and is trying to get them out. So I'm sitting here thinking that like this is normal, this is expected. I can't get my contractions to go away. My stomach is huge at this point. I'm 24 weeks. I mean, I'm thinking this is normal again because have twins. My stomach is so stretched out that it's hard as a rock, and my back was hurting so insanely bad. I felt like I couldn't breathe, and my OB prescribed me a pill. It's called nifedipine, and it was the only thing that would stop my contractions. But what I didn't know that it messed with your blood pressure, and I wasn't informed of that. But I was taking that. All of this is still going on. I had a follow-up appointment with my specialist March 1st. March 1st comes around and I go to my second anatomy appointment to check on the twins. I couldn't even sit through my appointment. My back was in so much pain, and the pressure on my stomach, I literally was feeling like I couldn't breathe. And I previously had informed my OB that like I felt like something wasn't right, like I feel like I couldn't breathe, and she was just like, you're small, it's normal, everything's fine. So I'm sitting there thinking everything was great. And I go to my specialist appointment, and every 5 minutes I'm like, please stop, like I need to sit up, my back is hurting so bad. And after they didn't even finish my anatomy ultrasound because I was just in so much pain. The doctor comes in and she's like, when was your last ultrasound? And I was like, with you, February 1st, a month ago. And she was very, very mad. That's when I had found out she informed my OB to do my ultrasounds. If I would have known that, then I would have pushed it a little more, but I was not aware that I was supposed to be getting ultrasounds so frequently. We had found out at that appointment twin A had an over amount of fluid in her sac, and twin B had very, very, very little. And twin B had her feet over her head, shoved underneath my rib, which is why I felt like I couldn't breathe. And my stomach was so full of fluid, they were in shock. And I knew something was wrong, and nobody gave me an ultrasound. Everyone was telling me that everything was fine, and I wasn't. And she just told me what was going on. She said, I'm sending you to the hospital right now. Josh and I got sent to the hospital and automatically admitted into a room. I had to get an amniotic reduction. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's when a really long needle gets pushed through my belly into twin A's sac, and they suck the fluid out of that baby sac. The doctor had to stand at my bedside with me laying on my back for 3 hours to pump this fluid out of my stomach. And it was very scary, and I was terrified that my babies weren't going to be okay. And they informed me that getting an amniotic reduction, mind you, it's like a pin-size hole in the sac, but that means I'm at risk for my water breaking. Mind you, I was only 24 weeks, almost 25 weeks. So here I am getting all this fluid pumped out of me, and immediately I just feel this relief as like this fluid is coming out of me. I can breathe, my back is completely healed, there's no pain in it whatsoever, and I just felt so at peace. boom, my contractions went away. That's why my contractions were happening, was because my stomach was so full of fluid. It was forcing my uterus to contract. And they keep me there overnight because they want to monitor my sac. The next day, they were supposed to go back in and do some more, but they wanted to give my sac a little more time. 3 days later, my water broke. And from that point on, it was the hardest time of my life. My water breaks in twin A. And I start having contractions. Mind you, I'm only 25 weeks, so they don't want me to have these babies, obviously. So they do everything they can to make my contractions stop, which they put me on magnesium, and it goes straight into your IV, and it made me feel like absolute crap. It made me feel so hot. I was just laying there in bed with ice packs all over my body. It was giving me such bad hot flashes. It'd make me really nauseous. It'd make me have really, really bad anxiety, and I was so dizzy I couldn't even walk myself to the bathroom. And the first time I was on that, I was on it for 12 hours straight. My contractions stopped, and then they started up again the next day. And I was having contractions every single day. And I was constantly being hooked up to monitors. I was on magnesium multiple times. I was on magnesium for 12 hours, and then I was on magnesium for 6, and then I was on it again for 12, and then I was on it for 24 hours, and then I was on it again for 12. And then I got put on it again when I was actually delivering the babies. So I went through that several times, and I wanted to die. I'd cry and I'd be like, please don't put me on magnesium. I can't take it. But magnesium is vital when you are in preterm labor, pretty much, because it helps your babies not have any bleeds in their brains. So it was really, really important, just in case I did go into labor. I was having contractions for 22 days straight. So bad contractions I was crying, and then they eased up a little bit and they were tolerable, and then other times I was crying again. I had so many different IVs put in my body. My veins were blown. I was just miserable, and Josh was with me the whole time, thankfully. I wouldn't have been able to do it without him. It was just so hard, and I was so worried about my babies. And the most frustrating part was, if they would have caught the fluid not being even earlier by my OB actually doing my ultrasounds, then they could have went in with a laser and lasered my placenta in half. But by the time we caught it, the baby's eyes were already developing, and you can't put a laser next to a baby's eyes because they'll go blind. So I was terrified. Me and my babies could have died. And I was scared every day. And for a really long time, they wouldn't even let me leave my hospital room because they were scared I was going to go into labor. And I had a panic attack, and I was like, I need to get out of this room. Like, please let me go outside. It was 10 days straight I wasn't outside, and I was like, please just let me go outside. I need air. Like, I'm suffocating in this room. They let me go outside for 45 minutes and then made me come back. And you just become really humbled in these moments, because we really take advantage of just literally being able to go outside, and I wasn't allowed. I started dilating on March 21st. I was 3 centimeters dilated. They took me to labor and delivery. I'm sitting there thinking like, okay, this is it. Like, I'm going to go into labor. And they stopped my contractions. After everything that we were going through, at this point, we were already in the hospital for 22 days straight. They put me on magnesium and they stopped my contractions, sent me back to my room. And I just cried so much. March 22nd, the next day, I started having the worst contractions of them all. I was screaming, crying. The doctor comes in and checks me, and I'm 4 centimeters dilated. It took me 30 minutes to get from my room to labor and delivery. Once I hit labor and delivery and they hooked my babies up to the monitor, 30 minutes later, they checked me again, and I was 8 centimeters dilated. I was in shock and I was terrified. 8 centimeters dilated, I was like, give me an epidural. I'm scared, I'm hurting, give me an epidural. They gave me an epidural and my body just relaxed so much. They put me on magnesium again and my contractions stopped for 8 hours. And I'm just laying there, honestly, like so comfortable because I was having contractions every single day prior to not being able to feel anything from my epidural. I just slept that whole 8 hours. And then they came and checked me and I was 9 centimeters, and usually you have to be 10 centimeters to be able to push, but because I was so early and the babies were preemies, I only had to be about 9.5. So they gave me medicine to force my contractions. My body starts contracting and they take me to the OR. When you have twins, you have to have your babies in an OR just in case you have to have an emergency C-section. I don't know if that's true for everybody, but that's what they told me. So I'm in the OR, and no exaggeration, there's probably about 50 people in there. So many people for the NICU team, people from the OB station, like people just in case I need a C-section. There was literally people sitting on the ground on their phones, and I'm sitting there like my legs up, ready to push. Pushed for about 45 minutes, and baby A comes out, and as soon as I get to hold the baby, they informed me baby B's heart rate was dropping and she was in distress, and they immediately took the baby off my chest and were like, okay, Felicity, like, let's go, we have to get this baby out of you. At that point, I'm scared. I start pushing and she starts turning, and they have to use a vacuum to like suck her out of me because I couldn't get her out. They got her out. Thankfully, she was okay. I had 2 beautiful, healthy baby girls. They were very, very tiny. Baby A, her name is Remy, and her birth weight was 2 pounds, 13 ounces. And baby B is Miley, and her birth weight was 2 pounds, 6 ounces. So they were both very, very tiny, and I was so scared for them. And I was like, Josh, just go. Like, I couldn't hold them, you know, like they had to go straight to an incubator. And I was like, Josh, like, I'm fine, just go make sure the girls are okay. And they're just sitting there fixing me up. And I have to tell you, after you have a baby and they like scrape your insides out, it's like the most painful thing ever. Anyways, the girls got put into their little incubators, and they have been in the NICU. It's been over 2 months now, and we are still in the hospital. Everybody knows we do have the 2 boys, so Josh isn't able to be there with me, so I just come home every other day. I was staying there strictly full time, and I was just living in the hospital room with the girls, but I wasn't taking care of myself when I was staying there because you just get so caught up in everything else. So now I come home every other day, but I'm still living in the hospital. The girls are due to come home literally any day now. They're so big and healthy. They had nothing wrong with them. They were only on oxygen support for like a day, and then they were able to breathe on their own. They do have feeding tubes as of right now. Our last step is they just need to be able to drink 75% of their bottles. I'm bottle feeding them. They have to be able to drink 75% of their feeds in order to get their tube removed, but they may be coming home with their feeding tube. I'm not 100% positive yet, but thankfully, through all of the horrible and hard and stressful things that I had to go through in the hospital, all the needles and the hurt, my babies are perfect and they're healthy, and that's all I ever wanted. And I cannot wait to share them with you guys. And I just want to take a moment to just say thank you to everyone who's really helped and supported us through this time. Thank you to everyone who's helped us financially as well as just emotionally, and I just really, really appreciate it. I do have to say this was one of the most hardest things I've ever gone through. And I was right to think something was wrong. And when everybody around me was telling me that I was fine, I knew that I wasn't. And I just thank God every single day that me and my babies are alive and healthy. Because when you think that these things won't happen to you, they do, and they can. I'll be posting more videos soon, and more pictures on Instagram. All of my videos from like months ago, I don't have the same Instagram anymore. I created a new one. I will link it down below if you guys want to stay up to date with what's going on in mine and the girls' life. And thanks for listening. I appreciate all your guys' prayers and your support. And until next time.